Hey, welcome everyone. My name is Steve Stump. Today I've got Mark with Revolt Healthcare Alliance, and we are on the one of the first few episodes of 100% on not in your business, where we focus on helping business owners make that transition, working on their business and getting out of in their business, operating the day to day. You know, when you can work on your business as a business owner, you're going to be able to drive sales. You're going to be able to reach your goals. And so we all know how important that is. Mark, welcome today. I'm so glad that you're able to be here. And I'm really stoked that you're one of my first guests.
Thanks, Steve. I'm happy to be here. Happy to help.
Cool. Well, hey, Mark. So, I told him you're with Revolt Healthcare Alliance, but for the guest, kind of tell them your backstory. How did you get to where you are now as the co-founder and managing partner of Revolt Healthcare?
Okay, it's kind of a long story. I'll try to keep it as short as possible. Growing up, I was always active in sports, weightlifting, exercise. So health's always been important to me. And when I went to college, I wanted to do something in the health field, and I ended up getting a kinesiology degree. After that, I actually fulfilled a lifelong dream. I owned and operated a couple of health clubs over 12 years. And so the first part of my career was on the preventive healthcare side. After 12 years of doing brick and mortar, that's a tough business. It's a grind. I had a family, and I sold those, and then somehow found myself like more on the health insurance, healthcare side of health. And so I ended up working for Cigna for about 8 years. During that time, I worked with them on product development, right, for preventive healthcare type stuff. And towards the end of that, my tenure there, I started to kind of see the cracks in major medical, right? The kind of the predatory nature of health insurance as it's set up in the U.S. A personal example of mine is, during that 7 years, pretty healthy guy, having owned gyms, right? During that 7 years, I paid over $23,000 in premiums.
Wow.
And in the seventh year, had a shoulder injury from weightlifting, pretty nagging, debilitating, went on for a while. And in the first 7 years, I'd never met my $3,000 deductible. So I was paying all of this money, and all I got was a few free generic drugs and an annual physical, right? But in the seventh year, I had to have so much stuff done on my shoulder that I actually hit my $3,000 deductible. And I was real excited, real relieved, because my PA had been telling me I'm going to need an MRI on that. And you guys, most people hear MRI and think thousands of dollars, right? So was super excited when I met my deductible. So he writes a script for the MRI, but Cigna had to pre-authorize it. They had to approve it, right? They're managing my healthcare, not my PA, but the insurance company is. And they ended up denying it. And come to find out, the cost of the MRI, $400, right? Because I was going to shop it. I was going to save Cigna the money. And they just didn't want to pay it. And so that didn't sit well with me. And at the same time, I was having that experience. My best friend, Gary, had bought this insurance product, this health indemnity plan that we sell from my now partner, Ben. I had introduced them, and Ben had sold him a policy. And unfortunately, he came down with stage 4 esophageal cancer. And during the last 6 months that he was here with us, he had this insurance, and I was his caregiver. And I saw how this health indemnity plan actually not only took care of his medical bills, but he also, and this is hard to believe, we have the checks. He got $59,000 back in what we call excess indemnity checks. And he had only made 3 premium payments, one in June, July, and August. September, he was diagnosed. During the next 6 months, this insurance company paid for his chemo, and they paid for excess indemnity checks that went back to him. And so you combine that with my 7 years at Cigna, or the eight years at Cigna, the bad experience I was having, in terms of my own personal claims, hearing stories from others, and then having this experience with my best friend passing. I just knew that this health indemnity product was something that people need, right? And so I left Cigna, As I said, my partner now, Ben, he had already been selling this health indemnity plan as an independent. And so he and I joined together. He and I created the first alliance, and we created Revolt Healthcare Alliance. And
Awesome.
that was about 14 months ago.
Wow, 14 months ago, and it's been a ride since 14 months. You definitely buckled in.
Yeah. It's been a blessing, and it has been a ride. You've been here with us for a good part of that.
Yeah, and that's why I thought you'd be a really good guest for the audience, because what I've seen is you've gone from working in the business. You were literally taking phone calls, helping people understand the plan and getting them enrolled. And now seeing the growth that the agency's had over the past year, you're really focused on the future. And so tell the audience a little bit more about that transition and what clicked in your mind that told you, hey, I got to flip this and I got to get focused on the business and not in it.
Yeah, so it's as you said, it just started out with me and Ben. We had a third agent come on pretty quickly, Scotty Byers. He's one of the founding agents, but starting out, we had to produce revenues, right? I mean, we didn't go raise capital. We bootstrapped this agency, and as such, I was selling, Ben was selling, Scotty was selling, and the next thing you know, I think a big part of our growth was our marketing. Right? We're not just selling a health indemnity plan, but we've created an alliance to fight back against a corrupt and predatory system. And that's what the Revolt Healthcare Alliance is. And call me crazy, but the message of what we're doing must have resonated with folks, because to your point, I'm now able to work on the business instead of in it. During that first 14 months, we recruited over 100 agents nationwide. Fastest growing agency in the history of the underwriter that we sell the product for. 3 million. The last day of our fiscal business year, we broke 3 million, barely on that was our goal.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thanks. And we beat it by $7,000, $3,007,000. And so I would say probably about midway through that, with all of these agents, there were all these inefficiencies, right? We didn't have standard operating procedures in place. We didn't have, the technology in place. What we had was a good mission, a good vision. We had great marketing. We had passion. And so at about halfway through the first year, me and Ben, we looked at each other and we said, hey, man, we got to divide and conquer. And so he, took over all production, right? We had enough agents that I was able, and we were cash flowing, that I was able to take a step back and let Ben, handle all production while I focused on operations, marketing, and technology. And to your point, working on the business. Now, I will say, it was hard. It was hard to let go, right? It's not that I didn't trust Ben, my partner. He's fully competent. I trusted him 100%. It was that I had to have the faith to trust the overall process, right? Not the people, but the process of letting go, giving up control, right? Saying to myself, okay, if I back away and I give up control of the customer experience and the need to make sales so that I feel safe and comfortable, then I can work on the business. And it was a process, right? And in fact, there were a few times where I caught myself going back and selling a few policies here and there. And then it just got to the point where it wasn't sustainable. Right. And so I would say for the last probably since the end of last open enrollment, I would say since January 1st, mid-December, January 1st, I've done nothing but work on the business.
So that's a great story. And so as you've made that transition, how have you seen that it's going to position you for the future? And kind of what is that return on that investment, if you will, of now getting on the business versus in it?
Yeah, so that's really exciting, right? When you ask me that question, I kind of I get amped up inside, right? Because as hard as that transition and process of letting go was, it's been great, right? If you go to our website, one of the core beliefs that we have of our 7 is transparency. And I'm being transparent with you on this podcast. We started out and didn't have the SOPs in place, didn't have any kind of automation. And so just in the last 3 months, at 3 months, it doesn't sound like a long time, but it really is when all of this business is continuing to grow around you, right? During that during that 3 months, I mean, I think we've taken on another 20 plus agents, right? So, but the reward, right? The thing that's so exciting is during that 3 months, I've been able to reduce the inefficiencies. I've been able to use technology to automate procedures that we were doing manually, right? I've been able to, I mean, obviously, the leads must have been pretty good, and our sales, process must have been pretty good, right, for us to do 3 million AP our first year. But by working on the business, we're rolling out a CRM, right? A custom built Salesforce CRM that automates the entire sales process and meets the agent where they need to be, providing them success guidance every step of the way, right? And so, we have our legacy agents, our seasoned agents that Ben had to do that manually, and he still will. We'll still provide training, right? But now, because I've been able to work on the business and automate it and put technology behind the process, those are going to reinforce the initial training that Ben does, right? The agents come in, they don't have to do manual contracts. That's automated. That cuts down on time, right? The contract gets approved faster. They can start training faster. Ben trains them. We get them in the CRM, we get them in the system, and then they have that as a tool. They have that as an aid to carry on from the initial training foundation.
Right. It almost sounds like a flywheel. With a flywheel, you get it going, but it takes time in the beginning, and then the momentum just propels you forward. So that's pretty exciting. What's coming for 21 and 22 and beyond for you. So as you've made this transition and you've got more focused on it, to your point, you've still added a lot of agents and you still have a lot of growth ahead of you. So what is maybe one thing that you struggle with when you get pulled back into the day-to-day? And then how do you balance that? How do you get refocused?
Great question, man. You must be reading my mail. I don't know how you're like inside my head. Because trust, right? Struggling. The thing that I'm struggling with is perfection. And what I have to do is have the faith and trust that even though things are not perfect, it's okay, right? So, launching a CRM, right, as robust as it is, and connecting the marketing to it, connecting the entire sales process to it, contracts, doing all kinds of data migration. There are a lot of moving parts. And so I've had to accept the fact that things are not going to be the way that I want on day one, right? And that's okay, right? I think there's a book or something out there from good to great, or perfection is the enemy of something.
Right.
You know what I'm talking about?
I'm not familiar with that. Perfection is the enemy of something, but good to great, I'm definitely familiar with.
Yeah. And so, what I'm learning is that it's okay that we don't have to have all of the answers and everything in place. We can still move forward with best practices while we're learning and course correcting along the way.
Right. Yeah. It's that incremental approach, getting better and better and better each and every day versus going away into a closed room and then big bang, you have a big improvement. So incremental is the way to go because you're definitely learning along the way. Well, Mark, this has been fantastic. So how would people get in touch with you and get in touch with Revolt Healthcare Alliance if, one, they wanted better healthcare coverage, or two, maybe they're an agent looking for a great agency? How would they get in touch with you?
Yeah, well, they could go to our corporate website of revolthealthcare.com, but you are one of our oldest agents and most successful agents.
Did you just call me old?
Yeah. As soon as I said that, I knew I was going to tell you were going to give me heck for that. But no, I tell you what, Steve, instead of putting up the revolthealthcare.com corporate site, why don't you put your landing page on there so that people that are interested, they can hear directly from you. Because I don't sell anymore. You do. I'm working on the business.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, cool. Well, hey, Mark, thank you again for your time. I'll let you get back to it. I know you've got a busy day and week ahead. Again, thank you very much. Have a great Wednesday.
Okay. You too, Steve. Appreciate you, buddy.
Bye-bye. Well, a big thank you to Mark Geiger, the co-founder and managing partner of Revolt Healthcare Alliance. I hope you enjoyed listening to his story on 100% on Not In Your Business, where we help business professionals learn from one another on how do you make that transition onto your business and away from being in it, focused on the day-to-day. You know, the things that Mark talked about, the big takeaways that I heard was really learning to trust the process when you let go and know that perfection might not be the most important thing in day one, but incrementally getting there to perfection is really important. And the key that triggered it for him when he realized he needed to be on the business and not in the business was when the inefficiencies really started to put a drag on their continued growth. And so with his focus, he started addressing those inefficiencies with technology. So I'm really excited to see the continued growth with Revolt Healthcare Alliance, and perhaps we'll have Mark on as a future guest just to give us an update on how the agency has continued to grow with his focus on the business versus in the business. My name is Steve Stump, and remember, when you can focus on the business, you can achieve your goals. One of the key ways to do that is attract and retain motivated employees. If that is a challenge for you, adding health insurance benefits is a great way to get and keep fantastic employees so that you can develop them and they can focus on the day-to-day, helping you achieve your goals in your business. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Stay tuned next week. I've got another great guest.